Ladies and gentlemen, there is a profound paradox in the nature of love and acceptance, a truth that often escapes our conscious minds. It is this: the darker and more flawed we perceive ourselves to be, the more deeply love reaches into those shadows to embrace us. This is not a love conditioned on perfection, but a love that recognizes the soul's deepest struggles and still offers unwavering acceptance. Each one of us carries within a hidden dimension of ourselves that we often refuse to acknowledge, a shadow composed of fears, desires, memories, and traits that we find uncomfortable or shameful. This shadow is not some distant or external enemy. It is a part of our very being, lying beneath the surface of our conscious identity. Society teaches us to hide these aspects because they are seen as unacceptable or undesirable, and so we wear masks to conceal them, hoping to appear whole and perfect to the outside world. Yet, in doing so, we become fragmented, divided against ourselves. This shadow is much more than a repository of faults. It is a reservoir of raw energy, potential, and truth. It holds those parts of us that are misunderstood, rejected, or even feared, but which are essential to our authentic self. The journey toward wholeness begins with the courageous act of turning inward, facing this shadow without fear or denial. It is here, in the confrontation with what we most resist, that the seeds of transformation are planted. Love, in its deepest and most genuine form, does not recoil from this darkness. Instead, it reaches into the depths of the shadow and offers a light not to destroy, but to illuminate. This love is patient and unwavering. It understands that healing and growth are not possible without first embracing the parts of ourselves we have long neglected or feared. The shadow is not our enemy, but a guide, a mirror that reflects what needs to be integrated for us to become whole. When we allow ourselves to acknowledge and accept these hidden parts, we begin to dissolve the illusion of separation within. The shadow ceases to be a source of shame or fear and becomes a vital part of our human experience, a source of creativity, strength, and profound wisdom. In this acceptance, love teaches us that the worst parts of ourselves are not obstacles to be overcome, but essential facets of our being that deepen the richness of our humanity. True acceptance is one of the most profound gifts love can offer. It is a radical, transformative force that goes far beyond superficial approval or conditional kindness. When love truly accepts, it does so without judgment or demand for change. It sees the whole person, not just the parts that are easy to love or admire, but also the parts that are messy, broken, and imperfect. This kind of acceptance is not an excuse for wrongdoing or a denial of responsibility, but a deep recognition that human beings are complex and fallible, and that their value is inherent, not earned by achievement or goodness. When you are at your worst, when mistakes weigh heavily on your soul, when guilt and shame threaten to consume you, when you feel unworthy or lost, true acceptance does not turn its back. Instead, it draws nearer. It embraces your vulnerability and offers a safe space where you can lay down your defenses. In this presence, you do not need to pretend or perform. You are seen, fully and honestly, without the fear of rejection. This is a powerful balm to the wounded spirit because it breaks the cycle of self-condemnation and isolation. Acceptance beyond judgment allows us to begin to accept ourselves. So often, the harshest critic we face is our own inner voice, quick to point out flaws and failures. But when love models acceptance, it teaches us to listen differently, to hear a voice that is patient and kind, a voice that says, "You are enough just as you are." This internal shift is profound. It loosens the grip of shame and opens the heart to compassion, not only toward ourselves but toward others as well. In this light, love becomes a mirror reflecting not our faults, but our potential for growth and healing. It invites us to explore our imperfections without fear and to understand them as part of the unfolding journey toward wholeness. When we feel accepted despite our worst moments, we are empowered to face our shadows, learn from them, and transform. It is through this unconditional acceptance that true freedom emerges, the freedom to be authentically ourselves, with all our contradictions and complexities. growth is often misunderstood as a linear path of constant progress, a steady climb toward perfection and success. Yet, the truth is far more complex and paradoxical. The most profound transformations rarely happen in moments of ease or confidence, but arise out of struggle, failure, and even despair. It is in the places where we feel broken, defeated, or at our lowest that growth quietly begins its work. When you confront your own limitations and flaws, when you face the painful parts of yourself that you might rather avoid, you are engaging with the very conditions necessary for transformation. These difficult moments, as uncomfortable as they are, serve as powerful catalysts. They shake the foundations of your old identity and open cracks through which new insight and strength can emerge. What feels like falling apart is often the breaking open of space for something new and more authentic to arise. Love plays a mysterious and vital role in this process. It is not a reward for achievement or a balm only for success. Rather, it is most potent when you are vulnerable and struggling. The more you reveal your weaknesses and fears, the more love responds, not with criticism, but with an invitation to grow. This is because love sees beyond surface failures to the deeper potential that lies within each human being. It holds the tension of imperfection and possibility simultaneously. There is a paradox here. The worse you feel, the more love is present, and the more love you receive, the more capable you become of growth. The pain and darkness you experience are not signs of failure, but integral parts of the journey toward becoming whole. Through love's presence, these hardships are transformed from sources of despair into seeds of renewal. The struggle itself becomes meaningful, teaching resilience, humility, and a deeper understanding of yourself and others. In this way, growth is not a rejection of our brokenness, but a dance with it. It is a process of becoming, where the very challenges and wounds that threaten to consume us also become the ground from which new life springs. To embrace this paradox is to embrace the fullness of the human experience, knowing that the worst moments carry within them the potential for the greatest transformation. There is a dimension of connection that transcends the surface of words, appearances, and conscious understanding. It is a realm where the deepest parts of our being, those hidden from everyday awareness, communicate and resonate with another. This is the realm of the unconscious, where feelings, symbols, and archetypal forces dwell beyond logic and reason. When love touches this realm, it forms a bond that is profound and mysterious, reaching into places that often remain unspoken even to ourselves. In moments of true intimacy, this unconscious connection becomes palpable. It is as if two souls recognize each other beyond their masks and defenses, acknowledging not only the light but also the darkness within. This connection does not require perfection or even words. It is felt in the silence, the shared glance, the empathy that arises without explanation. It is here that love meets the entirety of a person, not just their outward behavior, but the tangled inner landscape of fears, desires, memories, and dreams. Because the unconscious contains the parts of ourselves we may deny or repress, this connection can bring to light things long hidden. It invites a deep vulnerability, where the hidden wounds and unresolved tensions are acknowledged without dismissal or avoidance. Yet, rather than causing alienation, this revelation often brings profound closeness, for it offers a space where both individuals are accepted in their full complexity. This depth of connection allows love to serve as a healing force, reaching into the roots of psychological pain and offering the possibility of integration. It supports the process of bringing unconscious material into awareness, where it can be understood and transformed. Through this process, what was once a source of fear or fragmentation becomes a source of wisdom and wholeness. In this way, love in its deepest form is not a simple emotion or transaction, but a dynamic encounter with the hidden layers of the human psyche. It honors the mystery within each person and holds space for growth and healing that surpasses conscious effort. When we open ourselves to this unconscious connection, we discover that love is not limited by the visible or the known. It flows freely into the depths, embracing the full spectrum of our being. To embrace the whole self is to accept the totality of one's being without fragmenting or dividing it into good and bad, light and dark, or worthy and unworthy. This embrace requires a deep courage, for it calls us to look honestly at all aspects of ourselves, the virtues we cherish and the flaws we hide away, without denial or rejection. It means acknowledging that every part, no matter how painful or uncomfortable, contributes to the unique mosaic of who we are. This process of wholeness invites us to step beyond the simplistic narratives that tell us we must be perfect or entirely virtuous to be loved and accepted. Instead, it reminds us that our imperfections are not liabilities but essential threads woven into the fabric of our identity, the worst parts of ourselves, the fears, the anger, the mistakes, do not diminish our humanity, they deepen it, adding texture and authenticity to our existence. When we embrace the whole self, we move away from the tyranny of judgment and toward a compassionate understanding of our complexity. We recognize that inner conflicts, contradictions, and vulnerabilities are natural, and that denying them only creates inner tension and fragmentation. True freedom arises when we allow ourselves to be fully seen, including the parts we once thought needed to be hidden or changed. This holistic acceptance also transforms our relationship with others. By embracing our own wholeness, we become more capable of accepting others in their entirety, fostering deeper empathy and connection. It is through this shared acceptance that relationships can move beyond superficiality into realms of genuine intimacy and support. Moreover, embracing the whole self is not a one-time achievement but an ongoing journey. It requires patience, self-reflection, and the willingness to revisit our inner landscape with openness and kindness. Each step toward wholeness strengthens our resilience and deepens our sense of belonging, not only to ourselves but to the world around us. In the end, the greatest love is the one that refuses to separate us into fragments of worth and unworthiness. It calls us to stand fully in our truth, to honor every facet of who we are, and to live with the freedom that comes from knowing we are loved exactly as we are. In this embrace lies the profound possibility of healing, transformation, and true peace.